So good to welcome Charlie Sell onto the TRM podcast this week. We're going to talk about his successful experience of scaling recruitment businesses, international expansion, and how the Majar Group has successfully evolved beyond recruitment only into offering talent solutions and the doors that opens. As ever with Charlie, he's incredibly open and shares the mistakes that shaped him as a leader and as an employer. And this was a fascinating journey with plenty of takeaways for anybody leading a team or a recruitment business. Enjoy. A massive welcome to the TRM podcast to Charlie Sell. Charlie, great to have you on.
Thanks, Gordon. Good to be on the podcast.
Fresh from a holiday in Greece. So Charlie, you're Group Managing Director of Solutions and Consultancy at the Majar Group, and we're going to touch on all sorts of things during this chat. But just for anybody that doesn't know you, what's your journey been to where you are today?
Yeah, so I started in the world of recruitment in 2004, so nearly 20 years ago now. Straight out of university, travelled for a year, was meant to be an accountant, and fell in love with sales. So joined a two-man business called Majar Group, run out of a room similar to the one I'm standing in, my office at home, and started a journey in technology recruitment. And over the first 10-year period, as one of the founding members, we grew that business we're super proud of it. Grew it to over 127 million, 450 people, diversified into healthcare. So ICG, for any of our members who are in the healthcare side of the business will know ICG very well. And we ran in parallel a healthcare and technology recruitment business. My journey got to travel. I went and moved over to the Netherlands and set up our office in the Netherlands, then in Germany, Switzerland, and eventually in India, where maybe in the podcast we'll also talk about lessons learned of what not to do. And I can definitely tell you quite a few of those. But long story short, saw the business through to an MBO in 2015, where we split out the healthcare and the technology business. And that was my first experience of an event and the highs and lows of what an event is and just what you have to do to be really ready for it. And it's an eye-opener, the lessons learned. Again, we might talk about that later. And
then the last few years?
And so the last few years, I've been leading the merger. So I'm the MBO. I left the business and thought I was ready to semi-retire, and clearly was not, because we all love a journey. So I rejoined the group 5 years ago to lead the merger of where we are today. So today we merged Majar Group with Major Players. Major Players is the UK's leading marketing, creating and digital recruitment business. Majar Group being a global technology recruitment business. And so our thesis was within the high-tech, high growth world of technology businesses, they need to be world-class within marketing, creative and technology, and we can offer those solutions. And at the same time, where my real passion laid was the evolution of recruitment. Where is it moving forward to? And I passionately believe it's moving, and it already is, in the world of solutions, where our role in recruitment is offering clients a lot more than find the right person and work the right jobs. It's offering them end-to-end solutions. And so off the back of that, I now lead a technology consulting business called Build Circle, an embedded talent business called Booster, an employee value proposition business, and an exec business.
So just the last 20, been busy last 20 years. Startup, scale up, events, mergers, MBOs. Talent solutions. And just that, because I remember when you were telling me about the merger between Arrows and Major Players, because actually on paper, when I originally saw that, I thought, well, that's quite an interesting one, because very diverse areas of focus. But again, the way you described it then, it was all about the sectors that you're focused on and the type of clients you were looking to attract. So it made a lot of sense there. And just talk a little bit about the offering now, because as a group, you've got a fascinating offering that you can take to market. How does that all work in terms of fitting together? And
Yeah, so we're moving the group from a horizontal led business which has independent brands to a vertical led business that's led by our solutions. So our solution brands are essentially the value proposition to our clients, but incredibly proud of having the recruitment engine feeding and supplying the solution brand. So I think anyone who devalues the importance of recruitment is missing an absolute trick. The recruitment engine of being able to build those candidate communities, being able to fulfill client needs, provides you the data, the people, the collateral to offer those solutions at the higher up the food chain. So and that's the way we're moving forward with the group, essentially. So we work from end to end with clients, everything from the employee value proposition all the way through to how to onboard, how to hire, how to recruit, how to retain. But it's backed by the recruitment engine that can actually deliver those people for them.
And how does that transform your relationships with your clients? Because I'm guessing you have a much bigger seat at the top table.
That's exactly it. You are so much stickier, and you're actually in the conversations you're having with clients aren't just at one level, i.e. heads of talent or hiring managers. You're actually helping the chief financial officers, the CEOs, the COOs, people who are needing to think about their strategy, their hiring strategy, or even their growth strategy over the next 12 to 24 months. And if these businesses are backed by venture capitalists or PE firms or even, private investors, these conversations are critical to gaining confidence of backers. You need to have a strategy, and in technology and in people-led businesses, people is your key asset. So and the nice thing about this is wherever the client is within their journey, they may be having a tough time at the moment and having to think about resizing the business. They may be going through some sort of plateauing, or they may be going through growth. If you're offering a solution at every stage of the people strategy, you've got a relevant reason to have a conversation and to offer value. And as I said, it can be as tough as downtimes of how to downsize a business properly and how to offer new job opportunities, to mass redundancies, how to be that business to offer support, all the way through to how to reinvent your employee value proposition, all the way through to how do you scale at growth. So you get a bigger seat, you get a seat at the top table, and you're there actually advising rather than just waiting to fill, requirements.
Yeah. How easy is it to shift the internal capability to have those type of conversations? Because, as you know, Charlie, I come from the client side and spent my life thinking about strategic people strategies. So I love the idea, and I never had anybody back in the day that could offer me talent solutions, which would have been absolutely brilliant. But clearly, you've got to have the internal capability, and many recruiters don't.
No, and that is a big challenge. That's where recruiters, the next generation of recruiters, need to be coming into the industry with a mindset of growth, and being willing to learn and evolve their skill sets. You also need to surround yourself by people cleverer than you. And I'm a massive believer that in a leadership style that, you have to, if you're the cleverest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You've got to hire intelligent people and people with credibility, because it's not just about hardcore sales. To build trust, to offer a solution, you do have to have a career of being able to offer that. And so if you're a salesperson, a young salesperson, don't be ashamed to be able to engage with clients and then bring people into the room with the credibility that can help you offer that value to the client. And I think that's where recruitment is also moving to, that there will always be a need for people to create the initial relationships, to foster the journey, the candidate journey, but there's going to be a whole plethora of new roles coming out within recruitment that's going to offer these solution-based services that will come from non-sales people, but people incredibly talented in other areas.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We are seeing more and more members look at different consultancy services and different solutions to add on to the recruitment piece. If you just purely on that journey, because I think that's absolutely fascinating one, what sort of lessons do you reflect on in terms of moving from being a recruiter, albeit highly reputable one, to being the kind of total talent solutions group that you are now?
Yes, I think that the key lesson is know what our strengths are and what we can offer, and then bring those others in. So as recruiters, we are absolute experts in the employee value proposition. So how to present a client to a candidate. We are absolute experts in the hiring process, how to manage the number of interviews, the feedback loops of interviews, the offer stage. That is the value we can offer clients. That deserves a recognition and an actual value to it, that we are the experts. However, we're not the experts at probably running a milestones and deliverable end-to-end project. You know, that then moves on to bringing someone in who can deliver that and be the expertise. Or we're not the HR experts, so we're not the person that can advise a client on how to run, you know, the most legalized pay disputes or pay recognitions. But you bring in people around that. So recruiters have an absolute expertise and there's a value to it. But when you go into the world of solutions, you don't try and be a jack of all trades. You don't try and be the one person who can solve every problem. You've got to have the portfolio, the breadth of people to bring in to deliver the right part of the project.
And part of the journey, I presume, was sense checking the market a little bit, talking to clients with whom you got amazing relationships, and say, what would this look like? How would it feel if we were sat around the table with this offering?
That is exactly it. And that is the biggest trick we learned, was whenever we go into something new, we beta it with our nearest and dearest clients. It does two things. It brings a client closer if they feel like they're part of the solution. And humility, I believe humility goes a huge way in building relationships. So if you're trying, and clients want to work with companies that are trying to evolve and to productize and to think of better strategies. So bringing your closest clients, your closest stakeholders into the loop, maybe offering them an incentive to be part of that initial group, so there's a win-win. But their feedback is more important than any feedback you'll get from a boardroom or sitting internally trying to discuss it with yourselves.
What have you seen in the marketplace in terms of more and more competitors doing this, or do you feel actually you're on the front foot in terms of being an early adopter, or what do you think?
So recruitment evolving into doing statements of work has been around for a long time now, and that's just natural evolution of good recruitment. That's not a solution service. It's just really good recruitment, getting clients to agree to a process with milestones and times and deliverables. But every recruitment business should be doing that now, and that's not a solution. That's just really good recruitment practices, in my opinion. The difference of moving into solutions where I do think we're in a front foot is where you need to carve out absolute credibility with the skill set that you do, and that's all you do, and you don't try and be a jack of all trades. And although there's a debate that we're having internally about running a business under multi-brands, what you do need to have is business units that are absolute experts in what they do. And as I said, for us, with our technology consulting business, Build Circle, it's what it's purely known as. It's not a recruitment solution, it's not a talent solution, it's a technology solution. But it's powered by recruitment. And I think that's the other bit that we're an early adopter in, is I think what some companies have done is they've thought they can't be both. They're either got to be a recruitment business, or they've got to then evolve into a technology consulting and disassociate any association with a heritage of recruitment. And I actually believe that the total opposite. I think it's a really powerful message to companies to say, we are a pure technology or whatever type of consultancy, but we're powered by a group that has this level of exposure, this database, these candidates, because that's what consultancies don't have. You know, whether you're a marketing consultant, any type of consultancy are limited by their reach. If you're backed by a recruitment business, you've got unbelievable reach.
Yeah. Whereas the consultants actually got the ear of everybody they should have, and that's
it. And if you train a consultative style to your consultants and they're asking the questions, they will find more about the customer that you're working for, the client you're working for, than any reports.
How easy is that? Because I am quite interested in that concept. Because I've been in front of plenty of consultants asking them about things like workforce planning, and most of them don't talk about it, don't necessarily know what it is. So to train people to ask the right questions that are possibly a little bit more strategic, is that, did you find that hard, or did you find that some people got it and others didn't adapt as easily, or?
Yeah, I mean, it is tough. It's definitely tough if you're being trained already within one way of doing the job. I think there's two ways that we've fixed it. One, you can't reskill, or you can't train everybody, and the best way of doing it is on the job learning. So it's taking consultants with you on the meeting, shadowing and seeing it actually in action. So again, in any business I work or advise for, from the top down, you need to be a client-facing person. There is not one person who shouldn't have some sort of customer interaction, but you're always training someone beneath you to come with you. So if it's me on a meeting, I always take, if it's appropriate, to one or two junior people, very transparent, why they're here to be part of the journey, but they need to hear it and see how to evolve it. And they need to be open for learning. And it's also a slightly different mindset. In the old days of saying that the key people were money motivated, phone bashing, repetitive type of skills, that's not the skill set of consulting. You've got to be purely driven on value added services, providing value, and then the financial rewards come off the back of it. Hard work is there always, there's no get away from that, but it's just a different mindset.
Love it. Talking about surrounding yourself with people better than you, delighted that you've just joined TRN as a part-time strategic advisor to members.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about with your experience. But I do, you and I have had chats in the past, and like me, you've made plenty of mistakes along the way. I'm going to start with scaling up, because as you said, you started off Arrows, there were two of you. What lessons did you learn along that journey to scale up successfully? You did it successfully, and a lot of people have the ambition to do it, but hit these walls.
Yeah, so the challenge is retaining culture and values as you're scaling quickly. Because when you're going from 0 to 10, even 0 to 20 people, as a founder of a business, you're still driving the values of the business. You're the heartbeat of the business. People listen to what you do and they adopt what you do. When you're going from 10 or 20 to 30 or 40, if you haven't embedded those values in your next layer, in your core group beneath you, that they will bleed the same vision, the same values you have, it dilutes very, very quickly. And that's the bit that can then cause, that's where companies struggle when they're scaling too quickly, is that culture isn't embedded at every level. And it does start at the top. So, and we got it wrong. One of the reasons why the Netherlands worked is because I moved over to the Netherlands 5 years with the business in the UK. I bled it, and so the trust was there, the views were there. But when I started Germany, I hired a manager, and I only inducted him for 6 months in the UK office because I was in a rush to grow out our German office, and I was like, he's a great person, he can do this. Too soon. I didn't have enough time to build trust, didn't have enough time to build the values, the vision, and it's very, very easy to become alienated whether you're in overseas offices or even within the same office. If you're running a different division, if you do not feel part of the vision. So that was my biggest lesson, is you've got to live the culture and the values of the business, and it's got to go down through your business. You can ask anyone in your company, what are the 3 things we stand for? You've got it right. If everyone from the grad who's just joined through to the cleaner who's been part of the business for 20 years all says the same thing.
Yeah, love it. And that German manager, did they make it, by the way?
They didn't. No,
they didn't. Okay, well, if you're listening, German manager, it was Charlie, not you.
Yeah. I'd actually told him that. I did go. Yeah. I told him it was us.
And what about you personally? Because the obsessing about the culture as you scale totally makes sense. But what about you personally? Because you joined as a rookie recruiter from traveling. How did you continually equipping yourself with the skill set you needed to lead a growing organization? Where did you get it wrong, and what are some of the things that you actually insisted on yourself that you were going to get good at?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question, and there's 2 things to that. So one, the best lesson I was ever given was actually by one of my Dutch team. The Dutch are direct. They're honest. They're not direct, they're honest, and they'll tell you what they think. And when I was running the teams over there, I found it easier when I had to deliver a tough message to blame someone else. And I would normally say, this is coming from the UK or it's coming from HQ, when actually it was my decision. If we were behind targets and I needed us to pull extra hours or doing whatever it might have been. And it was actually one of my Dutch colleagues who called me out on it, and they said, Charlie, we respect people who speak directly and honestly. We know this is your decision. We'd much rather say it's your decision and we'll follow you. So my first lesson was own your decisions. And that's stayed with me ever since. Whenever I've had to deliver a message, whether it's a really good one or a really tough one, I own that message. I don't try and, pass it on to anyone else. And then the second bit is continuous learning. And without plugging TRN too much, it is a forum that I've enjoyed, that even as you can never stop learning. And Simon Church, who's one of the board members of TRN, he was one of my first trainers that came over the Netherlands, and I still use today the stuff he embedded for us. And we lead by example. You can never ever stop learning. And now with the world of AI, and there is so many things going on that if you don't have access to it, you can become in a microcosm really, really quickly. And if you get arrogant enough to think you know it all, again, you're going to fail pretty quickly.
Now, how did you keep, because even as the business and then the group has evolved as quickly and successfully as it has done, and I guess you going out to Amsterdam and India and everywhere, you've been exposed to all sorts of different experiences that have grown you. How did you on the journey get external input? And I mean, did you have a coach the whole time? Was it the board? Was it non-execs? Was it?
So it was a combination of everything. So I believe in personal development. So I've always given myself a training budget, and I'm now I'm a professional coach, and part of that coaching course was having to take feedback and be coached yourself, which was brilliant, because I was actually being coached by people outside of the industry who can challenge you with different ideas. And I think that's an incredibly important thing for anyone, is to have a selection of different people influencing you. Non-execs, mentors, I've always been very willing, and I think everyone should, to reach out to the network and ask for help, ask for support. Brian Wilkinson, who was a man who ran Gattaca at the time, I reached out to him cold, just saying, I respect what you do. You run a PLC, I'd love to know a bit more about that. And he mentored me. And you don't have a mentor for years. It can be for a couple of months. It can be 6 months. It can be a year. There's no end. But if you surround yourself by people with different viewpoints, and I think variety, so yeah, and again, it comes back to that first point. Don't be the cleverest person in the room. If there's people and CFOs, other ways of thinking, I'm very close with the CFO of our group, who's challenged me all the way along the way. And again, you need people to be able to challenge you. So if you're a leader that leads in fear or hierarchy, you'll also struggle. You need to be a leader that builds collaboration, so people can give you honest views.
I heard an expression the other day that I hadn't heard before, which is a hippo. Apparently, people, tech product managers use it when describing the hippo, which is the highest individually paid person in an organization. Right. So it's kind of the founder who bullies decisions because they believe it, and because they sort of effectively own the company. It was quite interesting hearing it from these tech product managers. No, that's really interesting. Anytime I onboard a new member, Charlie, I say I've got 3 theories about what our most successful members do, and I'm willing for you to challenge it. Number one is they've got a learning culture, learning at every level. And this is just my observation of what I see our most successful members do. Number 2 is a disproportionate investment in leadership. They overinvest, particularly if they want to scale, obviously, and the leader is continually bettering themselves. And the third thing is around clarity. They know where they're going, they know what they're about, they know their operating model, they know the values, they know their processes, they know the experience they want to give their customers. Does that stack up in those big 3?
It 100% stacks up. And that third point is where I've really got it wrong in the past. Having a cultural learning, disproportionate investment in leadership, absolute no-brainers. And then the driving the culture and keeping that, when it goes well, it's your biggest strength. And when it goes wrong, it can unpick very, very quickly. And I've seen both sides of that in my career. And as I was saying to you earlier, you learn more by your mistakes than your successes. And that's definitely one of them.
And I just touch on very briefly, because I want to get on to what you see as the most progressive recruiters doing a bit differently, is just on your outsourcing experience. Outsourcing is something that really interests me. Obviously, we've got a business, we've got a strategy, we've got things we've got to do. Some things tech can do, some things humans can do within the business, and then there's the outsourcing option. Just your outsourcing journey and what you learned.
That's where we got it wrong.
Oh.
Or we've got it wrong on one half of the business, not on the other. So at the time that we outsourced, we were a large group with a healthcare and tech business, and our healthcare business was quite easy to outsource when you think about what you're asking people to do outside of your business. And if you can process your business and ask them to do, manual repetitive things, you can outsource anywhere in the world. What you cannot outsource is relationships and culture. And what we did on our technology side was we outsourced all of our delivery and our operations to India, which essentially ostracized our staff in Europe and our candidates. And it really had a negative effect on us. And that was not the fault of the individuals or the countries you outsourced to. That was us getting the culture wrong, of thinking that we could, retain a culture when essentially outsourcing half the business. I would do it again, but on a much smaller scale, and I would be outsourcing to English-speaking first countries, places like South Africa or other places or similar time zones. And especially if you're thinking about opening up in other countries, America or around the world, I would be open to outsourcing again, but on a much, much smaller scale. And I would send homegrown talent to outsource places. So I would not outsource to a third party. I would just set up centers under our own banner.
Build your own team, yeah. They're really interesting, really interesting. Right, let's look at progressive recruiters, because I'm interested in this. It's not always easy to stand out in a market. Every year we do the TRN recruitment barometer, whereby we get everybody to share the things that they're seeing that maybe that the early adopters are doing a little bit better than everybody else. So we've obviously talked about talent solutions being a different type of relationship, stickier, more deeper. We've got AI all over us. I think most of us are obviously learning as we go along. What are some of the things that you're sort of anticipating as a recruitment business leader that the best might be doing a little bit differently, or those strategies that are going to allow you to stand out a little bit in a busy market?
Yeah. So for me, but this isn't probably new, but it's something that we need to be extra focused on: personal brand. Because AI is going to take over the lower level skills within recruitment, the ability to be the quickest, fastest, have the biggest reach of candidates. That is going to get automated. The people who really stand out are the people who understand the importance of their personal brand, because that bit can't be automated. So people who are really doubling down on, and you don't need to have years of experience to become an industry expert, but those who are being active on social media, on their blogs, who are following the right people, who are commenting, who are trying new things, like doing their own podcasts, writing their own newsletters, and you don't need thousands of followers to be credible, but you do need a brand that people can instantly look at and go, okay, this is not an avatar, this is not a bot, this is not an outsource center, this is a real person. They clearly love what they're doing. Even if they've got a year's experience, companies will give them a go. And I think that's where recruiters of the modern day are moving forward to. The relationship, the ability to build relationships cannot be automated, I believe. Even though AI will become super, super good, until it can actually physically be a human and go and physically meet people and build that relationship, that will always be the value proposition, the value end of what we do. But getting those initial meetings will get much harder unless the company embraces and the company supports your personal branding. So the company facilitates meetups, they facilitate the ability to go to conferences, to be visible. And in a nice way, I think I think it's only going to elevate our industry, into that natural solution base where your relationships are key.
No, it's really interesting. We're seeing so many members really get on top of that, whether it's personal brand or building community and positioning themselves at the heart of the communities. And as you say, wherever I see it or wherever I hear a success story and we share it across the network, it's never something wacky. It's just somebody who's thoughtful, who puts in the effort relentlessly and keeps on going. And then whether you do a podcast or whether it's just your LinkedIn activity, or whether it's just thinking a little bit about what conversations to have that might give me expertise that I can share out. That's what they're doing, but they've made a clear strategy saying, I'm going to go to this. If I can position myself at the heart of this community, happy days. So it's interesting. Okay, and businesses you'll be advising, TRM members you'll be advising. What would you be saying from an AI point of view? You get somebody staring into the headlights thinking, I don't know what to do with this AI stuff.
I would be saying embrace it, but don't be scared of it. There's and embrace it at the speed that you can adopt it into your business, because it can be as simple as using ChatGPT to cross-check LinkedIn profiles and help with advert writing, but it's not the answer. Do not think it can evolve and suddenly cut corners with it. And then use forums like TRN or other places who actually have the expertise to find out the partners who have really embraced it. I'm a massive believer of, rather than trying to build my own, like buy it off the shelf when it comes to tech, because there will be companies that will come who will rise, AI companies that will provide a solution that will transform the recruitment world, and just be really open to it. Be open to it, look at it, adopt it. But economies of scale, use the experts, people who are already invested in it. The worst thing any founder or any leader can do, I think, is they can go down rabbit holes. And I've spoken to a few other companies already who have said about AI that they've had 100 meetings with different AI companies, and no, don't do that. Don't try and be the decision maker of an area you don't understand. Listen to referrals, listen to what's going on, and don't rush necessarily. But when you do get places like the TRN or anywhere else, the members, the WhatsApp groups on TRN are brilliant for this. When people start recommending, I remember when the databases were coming out and people were asking who's using, who rates this database or that database. All of a sudden, if you've got 30 other members saying, yeah, look, I really rate this one, or you've got 30 members saying, look, don't go with this one for X, Y, and Z, that's more powerful than spending all your time in pitch meetings. So I think, in summary, embrace AI, don't go down the rabbit hole, allow your staff to play with it, but at a very, very fixed time. It's not going to replace the hardcore part of their job, but give them an opportunity to embrace it, and then share your feedback.
That makes so much sense. We had one of my members actually called Christina Chen, who's ex-Cambridge University computer scientist, very intelligent woman, but she really demystified it for me a lot. She said, right, the starting point is simple. You ask yourself, what do I want to be doing less of or more of? And you just pick off the one that'll have the biggest impact and then find the solution. So, and I really like that sort of simplifying of that decision making. And it's good. So, and just general feeling about the market as we head 2024 on the horizon. Your group is in the creative space, your marketing, your tech. How are we feeling about 24?
So people are starting to invest again. VCs, PEs, there's definite movement, and they're needing to start to get value back on their portfolios. So people are, I'm obviously coming from that world, so it's not total generalist view, but it means that companies are having to hire, or will be having to hire in 24. They'll be having to do projects. Perm, I think, will still be quite tough at the beginning part of 2024, as a lot of companies have been burnt through post-COVID and this recession as well. The contracts, I think, will bounce back fast and has probably stayed quite stable for most businesses. But there will need to be a need for perm by Q1, Q2 There'll be a lot of change and movement. I think once a bit of confidence comes back in the market, there'll be a lot of people who have stayed within companies through a tough period of time that will look to move. So I think 2024 will be better. It will grow, but it will probably be Q2, Q3 where we see things really sort of moving back to normality. Q1, I think, will be contract and project-based work.
Fantastic. Final question, Charlie. Your favourite thing about all things recruitment related? What do you love about this industry?
Relationships you build with your staff, with your candidates, with your clients. It's the single best industry if you're someone who's passionate about people, to actually make a career out of being able to foster the relationships, and that doesn't ever stop.
Love it. Listen, really excited to have you on board at TRN, and then talking a lot more, and thanks for joining us today.
Brilliant. Thanks, Gordon. It's been really good.
All right, we will speak soon. Have a good one.
Don't forget to follow the TRN podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts for a new exciting episode every week.